Mayor Hoskins.
Aye. Okay, we're at public comment.
Stephen Backman. Oh, 1 second. There you go.
Hello? Is that it?
It's in.
Okay, good. Yes, Stephen Backman, 329 Burkhardt Court, here in Forest Park. I'm going to read this. You know, with age comes a little loss of being able to recall, so I thought it'd be just better for everybody. During the last council meeting on July 24th, a reference to our village paid lobbyist came up near the end of the meeting. Being absent from watching village affairs for much of the last 5 years, I thought the talk was about Matthew O'Shea, who had been Forest Park's lobbyist for many years. I later learned that O'Shea had stepped away in 2019 and a new lobbyist, GPG Strategies, had been hired. GPG Strategies LLC, that's short for Grant Park Global, has been the lobbyist for Forest Park since August of 2019. They took over after Matthew O'Shea was no longer our lobbyist. Knowing nothing about GPG, I FOIA'd all the records and communications between GPG and Forest Park, starting from the beginning of the contract to the present. Let me say, I received very little information back. Very little beyond the creation of the original one-year contract and getting paid each month thereafter. In summary, in 2019, GPG was given a one-year contract which expired in August of 2020. In spite of not having any renewed contract, the Village of Forest Park has continued to pay GPG $2,000 a month for some sort of representation down in Springfield, though no real specifics of services allegedly provided are spelled out in the initial contract or in any subsequent monthly invoices received from GPG and paid by the village. The expired 2019 to 2020 contract has or had no terms or mechanism requiring GPG to show any proof of work provided by them, and no such description of work that GPG was to provide. In addition, no discussion or evidence of service has shown up on the monthly invoices starting in 2019. In other words, it appears we are paying a company to act as a lobbyist on behalf of the Village of Forest Park that has no contract authorizing it to do so, shows no proof of the work they are doing on our behalf, yet still is getting $2,000 a month from the taxpayers of Forest Park. To provide contrast, I FOIA'd the last 4 years of records and communications our village had with Matthew O'Shea, our previous lobbyist. My goodness, what a night and day difference. A plethora of records, projects, and communications. I was quickly overwhelmed. To give GPG the benefit of the doubt, perhaps there was more contact with GPG taking place over the last 4 years outside of the proper village framework. It's my understanding that a lot of village communications take place on a Gmail account not directly connected to the village. Could GPG have been providing detailed documentation and evidence of their service through this Gmail account all these years, and I just didn't receive it with my FOIA? Thank you.
VIP, $22,954.06. Water Department, $605,154.57. For a total of $953,988.77.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioners, is there a motion to adopt the resolution on the bills?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Maxim. Is there a second?
Nero, second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Nero. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Maxim?
Mayor, excuse me. Were we going to have discussion?
It's been moved and seconded.
I'm just curious, in light of the public comment and my request from last meeting, I do know that there's another invoice from GPG, and we had said that we were going to put a hold on any future payments until we received a report or summary of work. So I don't know, I would look to Nick about what an appropriate step might be, but, potentially moving to remove this invoice from this bill, this set of bills. Would that be an appropriate?
Well, doesn't the commission, when you approve your bills at the council, have they already been approved by the Commissioner of Finance by the time they get here or not? No. Okay. If you want to make a motion to remove it from the authorization for the payables and you get a second and a modification, you could make that motion.
I do think, just in light of the fact that, we have asked for a report or summary for some time, and we haven't gotten that yet. I'm uncomfortable to continue making the payments. I look to my fellow board members for their input, but I think it's reasonable to, at this time, until we can get that information, remove this from the bill. So I would like to make that motion to remove the GPG invoice.
Okay, so Commissioner Vogt has made a motion to remove the GPG invoice. Is there a second?
Nero, second.
Okay, it's been seconded by Commissioner Nero. We can either have a discussion or have a vote. I'll just say, Commissioners, I've asked our lobbyist. GPG is owned by Michael Axelrod, and I've asked him to provide a report. He does provide ongoing services. He has a stylistic difference from Matt O'Shea. Matt O'Shea did give us voluminous reports, and I get that. GPG does things a little bit differently. There's a lot of communication. I've probably shared with different commissioners over the years some of what he's been doing. He sets up a lot of meetings. We have meetings with legislators, but I've asked him for a very comprehensive summary of what he's done for us over the last few years to kind of retrace what we've done, as well as some of the pending projects, such as the Harleman Lake Viaduct, going after the money that has been appropriated in the last couple of General Assembly budgets, but not made it to us yet. GPG was very instrumental in, of course, helping us get the Altenheim grant. This community was pretty much first in line in terms of getting grants at a period where the state was really reassessing a lot of its grant making in light of COVID, right? But we were kind of at the first of our line. We got what was due, and I would just suggest to you that the lobbyists have provided quite a bit of value, and you'll see that in the report, and I think it'll be here fairly soon.
Okay. Do we know when we'll see that?
Probably before the end of the month. I didn't ask for it for a date certain, but I think it'll be here fairly soon.
Mr. Mayor? Yeah, I do think it is important and to recognize that someone in this position does provide a smaller village like Forest Park a tremendous amount of value, and that it doesn't often come on a timetable. The other thing that I think just overall that we need to recognize is being able to have the procedures in place to be able to evaluate. And I think overall, just not in this case only, But in all cases, I think, Jessica and I had talked about our grant writer, and grant writing services, and we've been working with Moses to get a report from our grant writer and to be able to provide due diligence to the village about services and evaluating and getting regular reporting and things like that. So it's not just in this one case, but in every case that we want to make sure that we regularly get the reporting back. And so maybe getting a date set for that report would be awesome, and then we can move forward with this, knowing that that's coming in. But this is a good process for the village to start to institute as we are mindful of the finances and the stewardship that we provide. So I think we can recognize both the value that this service provides, but also the stewardship that we provide in our roles. Thank you.
Mayor?
Commissioner Nero.
Yeah, I agree, and I think your comments, Jessica, are well placed, and I think it's not the first time you brought it up, so understanding they're different. But the mayor has just told us that we're going to get a fairly comprehensive report, and that'll be before the end of the month. So the essence of moving forward, I would just assume keep things as they are, keep the pay the invoice, move forward in anticipation of this comprehensive report to review and maybe have further discussion next time that we'll press it on.
There's no contract.
One more.
Yeah.
Sorry. Because I have been asking for this for several years, it's just an accountability thing. Folks say you're spending $2,000 a month on this, what are they providing? And when I say to them, I don't know, that's a problem. We need to be able to say the money that we're spending, what it's being spent for. So it's great that they're going to be providing a report or an overview of what they've done over the last 3.5, 4 years. But because it's taken so long, because I was told this report was coming last month, I'm just not comfortable continuing to approve while we wait. And I think maybe we should hold off until we've seen that report and we decide what our next steps are. Those are my final thoughts.
Yeah, well, just one more comment on that. So it's super hard to disagree with you. The only thing I would think of is that we as a village, as you all know, live and breathe by way of grant money and by way of our lobbyists finding different avenues and getting us a seat into different areas where we could pursue some of that grant money or who we need to talk to. And so I would hate to tarnish any or retard any progress made in that arena by holding back payment in good faith that we will be receiving this comprehensive report that we have been asking for, you've been asking for some time now.
Yeah, you do. Can I make one comment just to jump into the discussion? Is this invoice for July? So this is for a month that the lobbyist already performed. You're paying them for past, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a message to be sent, and you can take the vote you want, but you have to vote on the amendment first before you vote on the motion. This is an invoice for work performed in July.
Yeah, it's a
If you're going to send a
retainer.
message for August, that's something to send out now. So maybe it's more difficult to say no to somebody's invoice in July.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I was just, you and I are thinking similarly that, I think for an invoice that has been issued for work in July, that we need to, this is an invoice that should be paid, but that I would suggest, Mr. Mayor, if you could have a pleasant conversation and say that this is a report that's important to us, and that, invoicing would be tied to receiving the report for August. And that would be important to us. And it shows that we value his work, that we want to really know what he's been working on. And that if it's easier for him to have a Zoom meeting instead of a, you know, some sort of, you know, if there's some other way that is easier for him, that could be, but a report would be ideal. So.
I would like to say one additional thing. I'm a firm believer in paying for work that's been performed. One of the issues, and the only reason we've come to this point, is because we've been asking for the report, we have not received it, but it is an invoice that doesn't outline any work performed, it's just listed as a retainer. So it's hard for us to say if this was just money holding their potential services, or if they actually did perform any work.
And if we, correct me if I'm wrong, if we renewed a contract, we you know, when we renewed a contract, we could specify.
You could, man, yeah, you could obviously, you know, it's a month-to-month contract at this point in time, right? And the scope of services performed by this vendor over the last, I don't know how many years it's been monthly, it's been a retainer scheduled anyway. And whether or not the village has received the reports maybe it wants to have now that it hasn't, that's part of future performance to me. You know, that's something that you can consider and staff can consider, but to say that they didn't do in July what they did in June and May and April, I think would be difficult for the village.
Well, then my last comment would be, I asked us to stop payment in the past, so we should not have been billed for July. But I just want to be very clear that we decide as a council if there will be a termination of services for the time being, or if we're going to just keep in retrospect.
Yeah, it's not on the agenda to do that right now. I'm sorry. It's not on the agenda to terminate an agreement, you know. But you can do it next meeting.
Terminated, it's,
Yeah.
it's
Or redirect for a new agreement, for example. You know, give staff direction to
or just let them know.
bring
that-
forward, or let them know that this will be the last month you're paying them for, or the upcoming month. It's already halfway through August. So if there's a message to be sent, you know, you can give staff direction on that, or the mayor.
Yes, which I did last month.
I think the best step that we should take is the advice of our legal counsel. I think that's why we have an attorney here. I think we should go ahead and pay this because it is for, you know, the month already passed. But I do agree with Commissioner Vogt. I think, you know, especially if one of us is very, very uncomfortable with paying something because there is an itemization or, you know, description, I think we should make sure that that happens. So I'm comfortable for now approving this as part of, you know, the bills, but moving forward, I agree we should get more detail.
Right now, you got two motions on the floor, one to amend payment without, and the main motion to pay with. You can withdraw the second motion. Who made the motion? Maria did.
Commissioner
Mr. Nero, do you want to withdraw your second, or do you want to?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right, so
Then you're back to the main.
we're back to the main motion. Commissioner Hogue, do you have anything else?
I will approve the bills, but I am not comfortable approving this one. But obviously, we need to pay for, we need to make good on all of our bills that are in this itemization. But I do think we should remove this. That is my statement.
All right, Madam Clerk?
Just on the main motion.
On the main
Approval of everything,
Okay.
as presented by you.
Commissioner Maxim?
Aye.
Commissioner Nero?
Aye.
Commissioner Mellon Rogovin? Aye. Commissioner Vogt? Mayor Huskins?
Aye.
This is Resolution R-64-23.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioner Zeros.